We are
Well,
live.
here we are.
Something.
Here we are.
So
Entertain us.
terrible.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Tomb of the Terrible. I am your Uncle Necro, and tonight I am joined by Friday and Mrs. Friday, Pyle and Ron. How's everybody doing?
You made me watch that movie.
Could be better, could be worse, but at least I wasn't in that movie.
I didn't make you
Probably
watch
would have been
anything. The wheel did. The wheel made you watch it.
Who put that on there?
I have no idea.
Probably
Maybe
Friday,
me,
and she
I don't
doesn't
know.
want to take. She doesn't want to take credit for it.
Quite frankly, I think it may have been one of my choices. So you're welcome.
Well, no,
So,
also,
I hope-
blame Miranda.
I hope everybody who are watching this here in the United States of America have enjoyed their Memorial Day weekend. Everybody else outside the States, hope you had a very agreeable Monday, because we're about to ruin it for you. We're talking about the movie House of the Dead, a 2003 joint by UV Bowl, who brought to us many, many adaptations of video games in the 2000s. And, well, I'm going to read the blurb that I wrote about it in my original review of it back in 2003 from the Confessions of a Christian Freak blog. Several airheaded young adults take a boat ride to a rave on a remote island only to find the place deserted. After finding survivors, they must band together to battle hordes of undead with big guns and bad dialogue without getting eaten or falling into one of the many plot holes forever. Bad movie ensues.
Wow, that's great.
So, show of hands, how many people have seen this before watching it again for tonight? Ooh, my. This is everybody's first time? Ooh. Was it good for you?
No.
We're going to find out. So, preliminary thoughts on opening thoughts on this movie. We'll start with Friday.
Had the possibility of most other horror movies with bad party beginnings, and then it's like, why? As it went on.
Okay. Chaos, any thoughts?
One or two interesting actors. I've seen several places before. Other than that, holy shit.
Okay, Pyle. I know we talked about this before everything was happening, but let's hear from you.
So there's. I like the video game, and my honest opinion is just flat out. If you like the video game, good. If you want to start watching this and start getting into this movie, that's good. But when you start showing some of the video game in the movie, it just takes you totally out of the movie.
We'll get to that. Ron?
It's not the best zombie movie I've ever seen, but it's also not the worst zombie movie I've ever seen. And I'm sure we'll get into that as well.
Oh, yeah. My thoughts on it. Hey, Tom. I did not see it in theaters. I waited for it to come out on DVD, and as soon as it did, I went directly to the family video store after work, rented it, watched it, and then I just no, that was horrible. It looked all shiny and competently made, mind you, but there were so many factors that just from the dialogue to some of the plot beats, like as I mentioned pre-show, just the fact that everybody they're going to a rave, brought to you by Sega, by the way, and they show up late and the whole place is deserted. No music. The lights are still flashing. There's signs of maybe carnage has happened. Some blood-stained articles of clothing. Everybody's gone, and the first thing they do is, oh, let's get some beer and let's party. All of these signs that said normally run far, far away, and they just decide to make jokes, drink beer, and screw like bunnies. You know, so giving it a rewatch. I was made to watch it again, and my thoughts and feelings on this are the same. Very much the same. This is like 20 years after the fact, over 20 years, and I still strongly dislike the movie. So, let's dive a little bit deeper into this. Pyle, you have, when we were talking previously, you did have quite a few points. Take a deep breath.
Like what we were saying earlier, if you're going to make a movie based on a video game, go ahead, make some plugs, make some comments about it. One of my biggest things was it will go and take you through this movie. And once you start thinking, okay, I'm starting to get into this movie, it will show you a clip of the actual video game, taking you from reality to a video game and then back into reality. I mean, it is a quick like that.
Right.
So when you're doing that, it absolutely makes you go, why and what the, and it doesn't do it once. It does it a few times. Then towards the end, it does it multiple times. And like I was explaining earlier, it would have been so much better if they would have said, like through the movie, reload, as in like one of the people telling the other person, you got to reload. Just, hey, reload, because I played the game. That is like the number one thing I heard. Shoot all the bullets, reload. I was bad at reloading.
Well, I remember the first time I watched this, and the very beginning of the movie had, I believe it was a clip from the video game introducing everything.
Yeah.
If you recall. But they were using those clips from the video game as kind of a scene change, kind of like from those 80s cartoons, like the Transformers. You get the and then boom, we're on another scene. And then they really started ramping them up during that final zombie showdown outside the house before they went inside the house. I do know that this was conceived as more of a prequel to the video game series, trying to explain why there are zombies and such. And that reason is because of an undead Spaniard priest who did experiments on people to try to prolong his own life into kind of like a semblance of immortality. I may have Freudian slip there, but Ron, you do have some.
Yes, I have plot issues. First off, what
We all do.
you said, James, notwithstanding about all of the red flags that these people encounter, they completely ignore it. Into what Pyle said about the graphics and reload and all that. For starters, you could have taken the video game graphics out of this movie altogether, and it still would have stood on its own as a zombie movie. And just by calling it House of the Dead, you would still be tying it into the video game. You did not need to include those clips of the game within the movie in order to make that connection. I think people would figure that out by the advertising that they did for the movie. It was completely unnecessary. And when they did show the graphics, they are so damn quick that be careful, people. If you have epileptic seizures, this movie will cause them because of the flashy graphics of the video game clips. They're so damn quick that you can't really even see what's happening. And they mostly seem to occur when either a zombie dies or when a person dies off screen, so that you know something happened to them, but you don't get to see what happened. Which, what's the point? If you're going to have all of these cool special effects and the makeup jobs, because I got to admit, that was one of the cool things about the movie, is I thought they did a pretty good job with the makeup and the zombies and all of that. But if you're going to show all this graphic stuff, why the hell wouldn't you just show the deaths, the people getting bit by the zombies and the dying and being dismembered and all of that, instead of sort of working around it and not really showing anything and mostly implying all this stuff? Yeah, there's some gore, there's some stuff like that, but it's not nearly as much as it could have been. Now, all that being said, here is my one big flaw that I have with the movie. We have a group of college-age teenagers going to this secret island for a rave, and they encounter these zombies. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of weapons, and they suddenly are elite level combat specialists, knowing how to shoot guns. They're expert marksmen. They have martial arts skills. Okay. How do they know how to do all of this stuff?
Well, you see, they had a bit of a montage. Was started off with that military lady going, "Now let's show you how to use these weapons," and then suddenly a montage of everybody putting things in their belts, loading up the guns, looking down, and so obviously they were fast learners, of course.
Yeah, but a lot of these are powerful guns and they have kickback. And if you've never shot one of these guns before, you don't know how powerful that gun is until you finally shoot it. Yet they seem to do this with expert ease, and there were no problems whatsoever. They're jumping over things and doing parkour and martial arts. I'm like, who taught who? I mean, in this 5 minute, well, wasn't even 5 minutes. It was more like maybe a minute and a half montage for, them armoring up. Suddenly, they're elite combat specialists, and yeah, okay,
As you do. Well,
as you do.
well, my biggest concern here was I'm a zombie movie fanatic from way back. Some would call me an enthusiast. Now, when it comes to these, now I realize that in recent years, the whole phenomenon of fast moving zombies is kind of a thing. I can't. It was around. Let's see, this came out in 2003. I think Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead was 2004. Is that correct? If I remember correctly.
Possibly,
but that also featured that. Yeah, we lost Friday in Chaos. Who knows? Hope they're okay. But it took me a while to actually go, okay, fine. We can say that these were faster moving zombies, but there's a small part of me thinking they are dead. They are, the rigor mortis has to come in somehow. I don't care what kind of chemicals they were pumped in with the whole experimentation stuff. But yes, the zombie makeup and effects were very, very good, top level. But they wouldn't be running around jumping, doing aerial gymnastics and fighting like that if they were truly right, swimming. Also, I'm trying to figure out where they were playing fast and loose with the laws of fighting zombies, because at first they shot him in the head, but also it looked like chest shots could take him out. As we all know, it's got to be a headshot. Even at the end with the Padre, his head was lopped off.
Yeah,
but she still had to squish the head to make the body stop fighting.
Yeah, they weren't real consistent with when a zombie died and when a zombie didn't die. And so it was really hard to kind of keep track. Plus the fact that I think that there were probably too many characters in this movie to really keep track of who was important and who wasn't. And there was no character development whatsoever to make me feel emotionally attached to any of these characters. So I really didn't care, if they lived or if they got bitten by a zombie, because I honestly, I can't remember anything about them or who they were, so
there was Liberty, who was dressed in the American flag.
Yeah, and she was Asian.
Well, that doesn't mean exactly that she was not American. I mean,
yeah, I know.
She was a vapid airhead like a real American.
Yeah, and Simon was the rich kid, I guess, that paid for him to get on the boat. Other than that, I don't feel like he really had any significant role to play in the movie. And basically, they were all just fodder to begin with.
Well, I believe a couple of them were just there to say, "Look at my boobs.
Yeah,
I'm here to distract you from the bad movie." And also that girl who went swimming with her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
What's his bucket?
But, who knows?
I just going through this again. Just that. Yeah, this as a movie, this could have, to be honest, I was watching this and I was thinking, had they done something more of a on kin to, say, Return of the Living Dead, be more of a tongue-in-cheek, have a little bit of a comedy thing left. I was envisioning during the fight them leading everybody back to where the rave site was and then turning on the music, and then all the zombies stop and they start going into a choreographed dance scene.
No, because then
which-
people would have equated it to Thriller, and I think that probably would have taken liberties that they didn't want to take since it's supposed to be based on a video game.
Well, they didn't necessarily have to play that song, just the rave music or the German industrial that permeated the soundtrack. The German industrial and the nu metal was probably the more enjoyable aspects of this movie. That and Clint Howard. Loves me some Clint Howard. He was in some of the best B movie schlock in the 90s and beyond. If he was in it, it was going to be entertainingly bad.
Yeah, it's just there's certain things that happen in the movie that make me go, okay, I don't get it. Like, I feel like when the writers were writing this movie, I said, we need to have an excuse for there be a cache of guns. How can we incorporate that in there? Okay, well, let's say there's a gun runner, a smuggler, and it's his guns that they're using. So how do we introduce this guy? Well, we need to get these kids to the island somehow, but why do you have them all be late? They could have all gotten onto the island on the same boat. Everybody was at the rave. Then the zombie thing starts happening. And then they could have come across his stash of guns. And, that's when all hell breaks loose, whatever. But it's like the writers are going through the scenarios like, okay, what makes sense? What makes sense? What makes sense? So, and they figure it out and they get all this together and they go ahead with the movie. But then you get to the island that they have already explained is Island of the Dead, and Kirk, the captain, and his first mate, Sully, something. I don't remember what his name is. Salty, Salad, whatever. They seem to know about this island beforehand, and they do not want to go there. Yet, as soon as they reach the island and Sally says something like, we need to offload these crates, the captain says, I found a spot for him. How? You just hit the beach and you don't go to this island. So how do you already know, like, how much time has passed that you've been able to explore this island to figure out where you're going to hide these guns at? And they don't even bury them or anything. They just leave them out in the open because they come back to it later to open the crate. And okay, yeah, whatever. And then when the kids get to the scene of the rave and everybody's gone, and like you said, gee, where is everybody? Hey, we should split up and go look for them. Now, you would think as soon as they hit the beach, if the rave was going, they would have heard the music already. Just the simple fact that there was no noise should have been their first clue. But then they get to it, the place is deserted, but the bar's still full. Okay. One guy wants to get it on with his girlfriend, and then he gets locked in a porta-john. When he comes out of the porta-john, he's got a couple of scuff marks on him, but he's almost completely clean. Nobody says anything about how he smells. If you got in a turned over porta-john, I would that at a rave. No, I mean, I don't know about you, but you get a bunch of drunk kids at a rave, that porta-john's not going to be looking pretty tasty, okay? And he's got turned over in this porta-john, yet he's almost completely clean except for save some spots. Nobody says anything about the way he smells. He's completely dry. There's like just some dirt spots on him, and that's it. How? Why is that? You would think that he would be covered in shit and toilet paper, and his clothes would be sopping wet from piss and all of the porta-john cleaning stuff, the sanitation stuff, and all of that. You would think that he would be just completely nasty, and nobody would want to be around him. Yet he's perfectly clean. And then he goes off into the woods with Casper, the military, the Coast Guard, ex-military, I guess. And Finally, they encounter some zombies, and she says, "Run." Why? She's got the bigger gun. Like, if anything, I'd want to stay close to her because she's the one with the big gun. I wouldn't want to be running through the woods, not knowing where I'm going, after I know that there's already zombies on the island. Why the hell was she telling to run? You'd think she would say, okay, stay close, stay by me, or guard my 6, because he's got a handgun. You know, he can defend himself, but no, he runs off, yada, 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 meet some parkour zombies that are jumping over tree stumps and stuff. And it's just these little things, to me, it's lazy writing, where you would think somebody would have thought better about this and said, we can do better than this, because this doesn't make sense. So overall, I mean, meh. I'm not really sure. You know, am I making any sense here?
Yeah. I mean, the whole time you get the sense about that that essentially there was a lot of ideas that he wanted to go with and tried to cram every single one of them into the movie and tried to make it work. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we took parts of the video game and stuck it in there, and it was almost like he was consulting a 10-year-old boy about what would make a great movie. And then this will have to happen, and the zombies need to be all parkour and flippity and everything. And then you got to put parts of things in there from the video game, and you got to have the rave music and and it's just yay. And then have the big bad evil guy look like Marilyn Manson, and it's just. Yeah, that whole part where they go inside the house, and evidently it's bigger on the inside, because they were traversing areas that I did not kind of see coming, like the basement itself. But yeah, then that fight ensues, and what is worse is they threatened a sequel at the end of this. They did make a sequel, which really had hardly any ties to this original one. And I actually enjoyed that movie better than this one. I think the second one, the sequel, they tried to make a good zombie movie and tried to explain why they were moving kind of fast. Like, at first they were the shambling zombies that are the right way to portray zombies, but once they get that sniff of human flesh, they start. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Greg, the one that was locked in the porta-john that supposedly is covered in shit that has no odor whatsoever. When he's running through the woods and he's trying to hide from the zombies, one of the zombies starts sniffing, but he doesn't smell him.
Mm-hmm. But he steps on a stick, and that's how he, and that's always bad. Hello, Tom. I done heard that you watched this movie as well. But first, per request, there you go, Pyle. You are welcome. You want that as a ringtone? I can record it as a ringtone. Okay.
I think we need to put that on the beginning of Tomb of the Terrible. We're playing the music and you go.
Anyway, Tom, tell us, what did you think of the movie? Was this your first time? Tom? Oh, hey. What did you think of the movie? Was this your first time watching it?
Oh, I thought I was going on chat. I was like typing this out. Hold on a second. I'm still setting up here.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We're live.
Yes. Anything can happen on a live environment.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yes.
So-
Okay.
That's the problem.
Rhubarb, rhubarb,
All right.
rhubarb, 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 rhubarb,
Oh.
rhubarb.
Rhubarb.
Okay. All right. I'm coming in good, right? Just want to make sure because I didn't do a
Yeah.
sound check. Oh, okay. Awesome. Okay. This movie is the bane of my existence. And this movie has traumatized me when I was in the movie theater. Because of this movie, I have not played the arcade game in a very, very long time. And I was so disgusted with this movie. I just absolutely hated this movie. And, and there's a reason why his name is Uwe Boll, because his movies are ooey. Yes.
Yeah.
And cheap joke. So yeah, the video game footage killed it. The zombies were like, the makeup was like something that you would get off of Wish, that you would buy off of Wish instead of Spirit Halloween.
Wow.
The acting was could have been better. Clint Howard is the scene
To
stealer.
say nothing.
And and Clint, I love Clint Howard. I love him in any movie that he's in. And I'm just like, I'm making a mess over here. I'm just like going all over the place, make sure that. Anywho, Clint Howard is like, the best. He's one of my favorite actors. One of the side characters. And if there was ever, not to go off on and everything, but if there was ever a remake of Manos, the Hands of Fate, Clint Howard needs to play Torgo. He needs to play that. Moving on.
Agreed.
But the video game footage ruined the best scenes. The action scenes, and to make a video game adaptation, sometimes it could be hard, but if done right, it can be golden. Mortal Kombat is a perfect example of how to make a good video game adaptation. But even the remake, but not Mortal Kombat Annihilation. So with that being said, this movie was horrible, and I seen some horrible Uwe movies that were based on video games, and this was by far the worst of the bunch. And just recently, when I moved in town in Southington, I'm in Southington now. There's this little arcade / bar and grill, and I went there, and I wanted to check it out because I was recommended to check it out. And in this bar, they had a cabinet of House of the Dead. And I put that token in, and I reunited with an old friend. Because I looked at it as like I couldn't point the blame on the for the video games, for the movie's mistakes. But this movie could have been done a lot better if done right with the right person. And a lot of zombie films, and they even reference George Romero, one of the all-time greats. I'm sure he could have made a better adaptation than this piece of garbage. And it's absolute. This movie was absolute. And rewatching it to make sure that I got, that I make sure I didn't forget anything, it just reminded me of how much hatred I have for this film. This is like number one on my shit list.
Yeah. Ron, I believe you had something to say there.
I was going to make a comment about Double Dragon, the video game Double Dragon. It's not zombies or anything. It's a martial arts scroller, basically. But
Yeah.
Tom made the comment about how to make a really good adaptation of a video game into a movie. That Mortal Kombat is a pretty good example of that, and Double Dragon is not.
Yes.
It almost has
It's-
absolutely nothing to do with the video game except maybe one or two callbacks. But the movie in and of itself, I think it's kind of one of those movies we could probably watch on Tomb of the Terrible because it's so bad it's good. It's fun. It's campy.
Yeah.
I think it was made around the same time as Tank Girl, which is a great movie. And it has Alyssa Milano, Scott Wolf, and Mark Dacascos in it. So I like the movie Double Dragon, but as an adaptation of a video game, it's not so good. But if you take it as a standalone movie that has nothing to do with the video game, then it's fine. And I feel the same way about this movie. House of the Dead is supposed to be based on a video game, but if they were to completely go separate from that, it would have been fine as a standalone zombie movie that has nothing to do with the video game. I would think that Sega, that put out the video game House of the Dead, if they were going to sink money into this movie, this is what they settled for. I would think that the executives from Sega, they would have had to watch this movie and give their approval on it, and they went, okay. No, why? They shouldn't have let that stand. They go, this is what we're paying money for. Come on, guys, you can do better than that. Make it more realistic to the video game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You see, I seem to remember that little chunk of time in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where a lot of the movies had to be set either in a rave or a party in the middle of nowhere. Like Freddy versus Jason had that cornfield scene. This one had, it was set during, at a rave. That's the reason why they went out to the island. And if you recall, there was like the fifth installment of the Return of the Dead, Living Dead was Rave to the Grave, which also featured a rave there. But yeah, I was going to, Ron, I was going to bring up the bullet time, but if you
go
want to
ahead.
go ahead and, well, it's just.
This movie was made right after The Matrix, which I think came out around 2000, 2001. So bullet time photography was very, very popular after The Matrix came out. Everybody wanted to get their piece of it. And I think that the bullet time photography on this movie was probably one of the selling points that they used for it. And honestly, if you took the bullet time photography out of this movie, it honestly would not be worth watching.
Really? I disagree, simply because it kind of distracts from the action, I thought anyway. But what really distracted was when somebody died, you had a picture of them and they're doing the bullet time around them, and the red kind of comes down to say, I'm dead now. And that, I don't know if they were trying to emulate the death scenes in video games, but that seemed very much unnecessary. But
there was too much bullet time in this movie, too much, and I completely forgot how much they overused that cliche, because a lot of movies during that time, because The Matrix was so popular doing it, they single-handedly killed the bullet time scene.
Yeah, I believe
because
the
of how
best use of it was in.
Because they used it too much, and everything.
Yeah, I believe the best use of it was in Kung Pao Enter the Fist, but
oh yeah, absolutely.
Friday, You had something to say there about raves?
Movies like this made me not want to be the cool kid that goes out partying. I was perfectly happy in my room with my books.
Same here. I kind of wasn't a partier in high school or even college. I too was fine with just watching movies or reading my books, writing, all that fun stuff. So I am revisiting this. It just was also a very painful experience. So we're going. I believe now would be a good time to see what other people have thought on the interwebs, and hence 5-star reviews, people. So we start with Mark J. House. Certainly not for kids, but even a 16-year-old could probably handle it due to the obvious video game sequences. Not as good as a Rob Zombie film, but certainly worth watching.
He gave a 5-star and said that.
Yeah. One of the best gunfight slaughterfests I have ever seen, and I don't just mean zombies killing humans. Killer soundtrack. Some seriously sexy girls look for the Asian girl in the American flag outfit named Liberty. Wow! In all caps. I really like the set and location in the woods on an island. This is not a movie to watch to be an intellectual. You watch it for the obvious guilty pleasure that it is. Let's move on. So, and MG writes, love it. It's not the best acting or biggest budget, but what you get is classic gamer zombie movie. Lots of zombies and lots of boobs. There are only 2 sets. Which I enjoyed both. It's better than the half the shite out there, even the movies with the huge budgets. The cutaway video game scenes were a little much, but all in all, I love this movie. Oh, Kindle customer. Not your usual slasher/zombie movie. You are in for a treat. Movie is very unrealistic, but who cares? It's great fun. Action comedy and a pretty good storyline. You expect a run-of-the-mill zombie movie and end up getting a pretty good 2 hours of pure entertainment. Watch it again and again and again, and so many exclamation points. Wow. And this last one is from Kamali. A very good movie. Quote, I love horror movies. End of review. So, the movie is based on a video game, The House of the Dead by Sega. This is a really fun movie filled with nonstop action, good music, likable characters. I may take umbrage with that. And cool-looking zombies. I love this movie, and I totally recommend it. That was by Fooey Footpaws. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man.
Liberty does get a pass.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry. I dig Asian chicks.
Not gonna lie. Not gonna argue.
That was a nice outfit that she rocked there. But
yeah, she was
okay.
It kind of gave me Virtual Fighter vibes from her. She looked like she can that they could do a movie adaptation of Virtual Fighter.
Now, you guys were talking about the Mortal Kombat and the Street Fighter movies. You got to remember there was also did I say Street Fighter?
Yeah.
Yes.
I meant to say the Double Dragon movie, but Street Fighter was perfection. That is the greatest video game adaptation movie ever. Why? Because Raul Julia and Jean-Claude Van Damme together at last. Okay, let's get to the part where we.
Yeah, it was. It was only watchable for Raul Julia. Rest in peace.
Okay, let's get to the part. Let's get to the part where we, give our recommendations or lack of thereof, and the score out of 10 points. Remember, starting with Friday.
Three Chainsaw. It was a movie.
Question mark, question mark,
Would you
question mark.
Would you recommend it?
Not at this age.
And did you give your score?
Yeah, the Three Chainsaws.
Okay, 3 chainsaws out of 10. Okay. Chaos. What say you?
I'd give it probably at least a 4 for the simple fact it is not the worst game adaptation that I have seen by far. Still sucks. And no, I will not recommend.
Pyle, honey. Let's see that toilet paper roll.
Did you say honey? So we did go with 4. We went with 4. If they would have got rid of the video game little photos, little clips there, it would have been a lot better. But yeah, just like what Chaos said, there's some movies out there. Now, am I going to recommend this? No, but I did recommend the last movie we did, and I want people to watch this just so they could understand the pain and suffering. But I don't even want to recommend this one.
Okay, Ron, what say you?
Ron says, to reiterate what I said at the beginning, it's not the best zombie movie I've ever seen, but it's also not the worst zombie movie I've ever seen. Would I recommend it? That depends. Probably not. But I think this movie is perfectly fine to watch as background noise if you want to watch something while you are in an altered state or an elevated state, if you get my meaning, and I think you do. It's an okay movie, so I'm going to give it a straight mid-5 because it's not great, but it's watchable and it's at least somewhat enjoyable for the action sequences. So, I don't have the same kind of rant that I had about Mandy and Prey. If I were comparing this movie to Prey, I'd probably have to give it a 10 out of 10 because Prey. But yeah, I'm just going to go midline because that's kind of how I feel about the movie. It's kind of meh, so I'm just going to give it a 5.
Okay. So, Tom Dog.
Alrighty. I give it 1 gaming token. 1 game token. I can't. What Pyle said. No video game footage. It would have gotten a little bit of a higher grade because it did remind me of an indie film. The topless scenes, I will say it did nothing for me. It was like Girls Gone Wild, the movie with zombies. I probably would give it like a 2 because of Clint Howard, being at least the saving grace, and as well as the actress who played Liberty. That's probably about it. So yeah, I'm changing it to a 1 to a 2. Would I recommend it? I recommend the video game because that is a better, that will be a better one because if you play the video game, you've seen the movie. because of the video game clips. But I do recommend a better zombie video game adaptation movie called Resident Evil. The first one. Maybe even the second one. But the first one. But
Okay.
yeah, that
Okay,
it
so
was just a it was just a horrible movie. So I'm giving it a 2.
Okay. 2 for you. Okay, so I am giving it a 3 out of 10. And the reason is there were 3 good things that I extrapolated from this. 1, Clint Howard. 2, the soundtrack was actually pretty banging. I mean, the German techno that Uwe Boll put in there, it was pretty decent. The third one was the scene where they go down into the catacombs underneath the house, and the lab itself did have a very strong Lovecraftian feel to it. It was pretty cool to look at. So it gets 3. Now, do I recommend this? No. I would recommend instead George Romero's original zombie trilogy, the first Return of the Living Dead, playing the first 2 Resident Evil video games, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And I agree, it's just kind of meh, but a bad meh. So, all right, are we ready for the wheel?
Hey,
So
Wheel
there was
of
a new wheel.
Wheel
you
of
have the
fish.
tubular bells?
I do not.
It's
I could do
in
that.
the brand.
Say what?
Did you find it?
What you need?
I asked you to play the tubular bells file.
I was trying to figure out which one it was. Okay, I got it. You ready?
You got it? Okay.
Oh, Dead Above Ground's
3,
on
2,
here now.
1.
Ooh. Ground's up.
No, I'm not.
Are you scared?
Should I be?
And by the end of the movie, you will say, nah, not really. But, oh, I've seen this one before. It has Tony Todd, I believe. Or is that the second one? Oh, we'll find out. But next week, we are watching the Saw remake, the Saw ripoff, Are You Scared? So, Friday, where can we find you?
I'm at Elliott. I'm at Paycor. I'm also, you can find me at my actual pages, Friday with the Librarian, the Blue Box, and my author page, Jennifer Elliott. Oh yeah, we have
Okay.
a anthology coming out, Owlite Menagerie,
Yes, we
on
do.
the 4th. Please come check out our amazing stories. And we have a party on the Tuesday, on the 8th. Our release party's the 8th, that Saturday. We are usually doing the release parties the Saturday after. And come hear tidbits from the authors and listen to readings.
Cool. All right, Chaos, where can we find you?
Find her. Or search hell.
Okay. Hell, Michigan, which does freeze
Oh,
over
That's
periodically.
just hell.
Okay. Pyle, where can we find you?
Let's see here. You can find me in probably your basement. I'm the thing that you haven't moved off to the side in a very long time now. You can find me here on the Elliott Network. You can find me on Facebook, Pyle Hazard. You can find me every other weekend on a Friday hanging out with you here on Chainer's Haunted Secrets. And if we're talking about Are You Scared in 2006, that is on Tubi.
Okay. Ron, where can we find you?
You know, I've been to Hell, Michigan, and I did not see chaos there, but I had some really good ice cream. They do have ice cream in Hell.
Mm.
You can find me here on Owlite doing various shows when I'm available to do various shows. You can find me on my Facebook author page, Ronald W Gillespie Jr. author, for the release of my new book, Inside My Nightmares. I'm currently working on a novel, which I hope to have out next February as well. And outside of all of this grandiose happenings that I do here with Owlite and writing, I am a professional martial artist. I make martial arts content on TikTok, so you can find me there as well under @WolfDojo. So, and when in doubt, if you can't find me at any of those places, then contact Friday and she'll get in touch with me because she's cool like that.
Yep. All right, Tom Dog, where can we find you?
All right, you can find me over on the Brill Pro channel on YouTube, Tom Arcade 69. This Thursday, I got another exciting episode of Channel X, and then this coming Saturday, another exciting episode of Wrestling Prime. And the only way to do that is to like what you like and face hug that subscribe button.
Nice. And I remain, as always, your humble servant, Uncle Necro. You can find me in a farmhouse in eastern Nebraska, writing, blogging, podcasting, yelling at squirrels outside, what have you, dodging tornadoes as of recently. And I guess if you want to go through Friday, she can point you the right direction as well. So until next time, get help.
Stay new to your friends.